Hello everyone, thanks for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. So this morning it was our final Zoom session using the Cactus Cuties stamp set, which we've been using for the whole month. And I wanted to do something a little bit different with this. And of course, having cactus, we need to have a desert. So I've actually pulled back a retired set, Waterfront, although we have got some other sets that are quite similar at the moment, to use to create that kind of desert background, and then used obviously the cactus on top. So I'll show you how to get started with that. So first of all, we have got a C6 Crumb Cake card base, or you could use a slightly lighter shade. I used Crumb Cake for one of mine, and then on the other one I used, I think, Sahara Sand, so either of those colours works well. And we're going to get our stamping done onto that straight away. So I've done two there that were portrait. One of the other ladies this morning decided to have a go at doing a landscape one, so I might do the same and have a go at a landscape one to show you now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my background stamped first of all, and I'm using a few bits from Waterfront. So I'm using the mountain range, this kind of zigzag shape, and this one, and then of course the sun just to add on at the end. So I'm going to start with Crumb Cake, so we're going tone on tone for my mountains. So I'm just going to start off by kind of working out how far I want it to come down. So obviously with the portrait one, I did my mountains about a third of the way down the card, but with my landscape one I might need to do a little differently, so I might end up having slightly less sky, so I'm going to move up a little bit more. So I'm going to get a few of the mountain ranges on. And then I'm going to go back in and stamp off first to put some so that they look like they're in the distance. There we go. You don't have to be too accurate with this. That's the nice thing about this style of stamp set, is that it doesn't need you to be too perfect, which is good. So next I'm going to get Crumb Cake. No, that's what I've just used. Crush curry, that's the one. And the same letter, that's what I got confused. Right, so I'm using that zigzag pattern. I'm just going to get some sand stamped now. I'm not going to go right up to the mountains, but I am going to do a bit of first and second generation stamping just to fill in some of those gaps. And anywhere that I think I haven't got enough ink, I can always go back and stamp over again. And the reason I chose a Crumb Cake card base rather than a white was just that I thought it would work nicely for the sand, actually, just so that you don't have to cover the whole thing really. So next I'm going to take Early Espresso, and I'm going to use the long thin stamp. You can see mine's been very well used, and I'm just going to place that on in a few places. I might do a bit of stamping off just to give us a bit of a impression of some rocks and things. And then just to finish off my background, I'm going to go back with a bit of Old Olive, and I'm going to bring back that zigzag one again. I'm just going to put a little bit up around near rocks and do a bit of stamping off, and then pop some in a couple of places where I think I might have my cactus. And whilst I've got that, I'm going to use this stamp, which is from the Cactus Cuties, which looks a little bit like kind of an aloe vera, and I'm just going to pop a few of those around the bottom of the card. And again, stamp off with a few. And it just gives that slightly more 3D look, makes the landscape a bit more interesting. So I have some strips here, which are, I think, double check the measurement, 2 centimeters wide, and then whatever length you want them to be. I'm using Hope Your Day is on Point, which should just about fit on there. And you can see I've cut one end slanted, just as a different way, putting it on there. I'm just going to line that up so it helps me to line up my sentiment as well. And just to help it stand out a little bit more, I'm just going to tap it in my ink pad. You could use a dauber if you prefer, or some sponge, but this is so quick and easy to do. It just gives you a bit of colour around the edge of the card, so that you don't need to have another piece of card behind it, but it just helps it to stand out a little bit better. So I'm going to decide where I'm going to pop that in a minute. Just put that all to one side. I've got a little bit more. These are a couple of scraps, so I'm going to stamp my cactus onto those. So I'm using the cactus that has kind of like the two spikes. Is that what you'd call them? I don't know what you call them actually. So do a couple of those. Now, unfortunately, the punch doesn't cut these ones out, so I am going to have to cut those out by hand. And then I'm just going to get my other bit, which is the little kind of bobbly bit, which can either make a tiny cactus from, or you can attach those to your no, actually I've just realised I've used the wrong one, sorry. That is the sun actually that I was going to put on my background, so let me just do that whilst I've got it. I'm just going to use Daffodil Delight for that because it's a little bit brighter than the crushed curry. And you can either go for it in the middle of your mountains or slightly to one side. So I'm just going to go there. There we go. Right, so now let's grab the little bit. So I can probably fit one of those on there and one on there. I've got another bit of scrap card here. I'm just going to stamp 3 more. There we go. So we could cut those little bits out with the punch if we wanted to. To be honest, I think I'll just cut all of them out by hand. So the punch we discovered when we used it the time before doesn't give you a little edge around the image like most of our Stampin' Up punches do. So I'm going to cut these out right up to the edge of the image as well. Just so that it creates the same effect. And actually you want the cactus to look like it's part of the landscape, so if it had a little edge around it, it may not look quite right anyway. So we are just going to cut those. So so that they are all cut out and ready to stick on. And the nice thing about this card is that you really can do whatever you want with it. So the background can be completely customized to how you want it to be. So dependent upon which stamp set you have and whether you want to add other elements. If you're using something slightly different, then there are going to be other bits in there that you could use instead. So your chance to kind of play around with it. And of course you can make both of your cards slightly different, because we always make 2 cards at Coffee and Cards, so it's just what we used to do when we used to meet up face to face. So we've continued that. And sometimes on our Zoom sessions we get it so that we can get both of them done. Occasionally we might only get one done, and then it leaves everyone time to just finish it off in their own time. And the other great thing is that this video is available on my YouTube channel forever, so people can come back to it and watch it whenever they're ready. And if they need to go back to it again, it will always be there. So I'm just going to finish getting this cactus cut out. So just the key to remembering to get neat cutting is, if at all possible, try to turn the card and not the scissors, and then you'll get nice neat edges. So we're now on to the assembly. So this is where, because I'm doing it slightly different, I need to have a little bit of a think about where I might want to place my cactuses and my sentiment and all of that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to go with that and have my sentiment at the top and my cactuses at the bottom. I wasn't sure if I'd need extra cactuses, cacti I should say, but I think it will be fine as it is. So I'm going to put the sentiment on with dimensionals. I'm just going to line my card up with the grid lines on my paper, just to help me to hopefully lay that down nice and straight. Then the cactus I am sticking down with Tombow. Just a little bit, you don't need too much. And I'm trying to put it where I stamped some of that green earlier. You don't have to, but I thought it kind of looked good that there might be some of the kind of greenery growing at the same point. And then with my small bits, I'm just going to stick those on with a dimensional, and they're just the perfect size for one standard size dimensional to fit. And they're just going to be put on the side there. So I'm going to put 2 on one of them and then 3 on the other. Of course, that's completely optional as well. You don't have to put them on if you don't want them on. Okay, and then the only other thing you could do if you wanted to is just stamp some flowers to put on, but I think actually I quite like that just left as it is, and I think that would make a really nice man's card. So if I bring back the other one, you can see the difference between the portrait and the landscape. And the only thing actually I do need to do just to finish off is I'm just going to put a little bit of Wink of Stella on my sun to make it a little bit shimmery. There we go. So just a quick recap. We used a C6 card base in Crumb Cake. We've also used Crumb Cake for the other parts of the card, using a 2 centimetre wide strip for our sentiment and using some scraps for the cactus. Then the inks that we've used are Old Olive for our cactus, Crumb Cake for our mountains, Crushed Curry for the sand, Early Espresso for some of our rocks and also the sentiment, and then just for a brighter yellow, Daffodil Delight just for our sun. And then I have used Tombow adhesive and standard size Stampin' Dimensionals, and that is it. So actually quite a quick and simple card really. It's just getting that background done and then obviously assembling everything. So if you'd like to have a go, obviously please let me know if you need any extra help with anything, any other questions, and if you'd like to order anything, please let me know. Just be aware that Waterfront that we've used for the background is a retired set, so isn't currently available, but everything else is. Have a great week, and I will see you next week for a new month of coffee and card, when we'll be starting using a new stamp set and punch, which is the Hello Ladybug set. Look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Bye.